Its stock once traded at $93 a share. Its containers were in nearly every kitchen in America. And the whole empire was built not on a store, not on a factory floor, but on a party in someone's living room. A selling model so successful and so outdated that it eventually took the entire company down. In September of 2024, Tupperware Brands filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The company reported more than $1.2 billion in total debts against just $679.5 million in assets. The stock that once sat at $93 had cratered to under 50 cents. CNN put it simply, "The party is over." But this was not a company that got blindsided by one bad quarter or one terrible product launch. Tupperware died slowly over decades, and the thing that killed it was the same thing that made it a household name. To understand how a plastic container company built a billion-dollar empire and then lost it, you have to go back to the 1940s to a man named Earl Tupper and a product that nobody wanted to buy. Earl Tupper was a chemist and an inventor working with a material called polyethylene, a byproduct of oil refining. He figured out how to mold it into lightweight, flexible containers with an airtight seal. He pressed the lid down and it made a little burping sound as the air pushed out. That seal kept food fresher for longer than anything else on the market. It was a genuinely better product. The design was clever, the engineering was real, and Tupper believed the product would sell itself. There was just one problem. Nobody was buying it. Tupper put his containers in department stores across the country, and they sat on shelves collecting dust. The plastic felt unfamiliar. Shoppers in the late 1940s did not trust it. They were used to glass, to ceramic, to metal. These were materials they could see through, materials that felt solid, materials their mothers had used. A soft, rubbery container with a funny lid did not look like progress to them. It looked suspicious. And the seal, the whole point of the product, only worked if you knew how to use it. You had to press the lid on just right and push the air out. Without a demonstration, most shoppers did not even know the seal existed. They picked up the container, turned it over, and put it back down. Department store clerks were not in the business of giving demonstrations between the kitchenware and the linens. They had no reason to push one product over another. Tupper had invented something people genuinely needed. He just could not get anyone to realize it. That is where Brownie Wise changed everything. Wise was a single mother from Detroit who had been selling Stanley home products through home demonstrations. She understood something about selling that most product inventors miss entirely. People do not buy things because the product is good. They buy things because someone they trust shows them it is good. Wise saw Tupper's containers at a trade show and recognized the gap immediately. The product was not the problem. The selling environment was the problem. Put these containers in a living room. Let a friend demonstrate the seal. Let people touch them and hear that little burp and see the freshness for themselves. And they would buy. Not because of a sales pitch, because their neighbor just showed them it worked. Wise started hosting what she called Tupperware parties. The format was simple and repeatable. A hostess would invite friends over to her home. A Tupperware dealer would show up with a case of products and demonstrate them one by one. Orders were placed on the spot. The hostess got free products as a thank you for opening her living room. The dealer earned a commission on every sale, and Tupperware got something no store shelf could deliver: a sale built on social trust. Your friend was not selling you plastic. She was showing you something she already used in her own kitchen. That changed the entire equation. It worked immediately, and it scaled fast. Wise recruited dealers, who recruited more dealers, who hosted more parties in more living rooms across the country. By the early 1950s, Tupperware pulled its products out of retail stores entirely. Every single container sold through the party model. This was not a small bet. The company abandoned traditional retail completely and committed everything to a direct sales army of women working from their homes. Earl Tupper recognized what Wise had built. He made her the vice president of the company. She became the first woman to appear on the cover of Business Week. She was the public face of Tupperware, the evangelist, the recruiter, the person who built the engine that made the whole thing run. For a few years, Tupper and Wise were the perfect partnership. He made the product. She sold the product. And together, they built something neither could have built alone. And then Tupper pushed her out. In 1958, Earl Tupper fired Brownie Wise. He stripped her of her stock options and removed her from the company she had turned into a national brand. The reasons have been debated for decades. Some accounts point to personal friction. Others suggest Tupper resented how much credit Wise received for the company's success. Whatever the cause, the result was clear. The woman who invented the party model that made Tupperware a household name left the company with almost nothing. Tupper sold the business that same year for $16 million, renounced his American citizenship, and moved to Costa Rica. He never publicly acknowledged what Wise had done for the brand. But the model she built kept running without her. That is the strangest part of this story. Brownie Wise created a system so well designed that it survived her own removal and kept growing for decades. Through the 1960s and 70s, the Tupperware Party became an American institution. It was a social event, a business opportunity, and a product demonstration, all rolled into one. Suburban women who had limited access to traditional careers or independent income could earn real money hosting parties or becoming dealers. A hostess could work her own hours, set her own schedule, and build a network that paid her every time someone in it made a sale. The brand became a verb. People did not just buy containers. They went to a Tupperware party. The name was everywhere. The product was in every cabinet. And the company was printing money. For 3 straight decades, the model ran like a machine. A machine. If you had a subscription to this story and could only read the next chapter, you would expect the usual problems. A bad CEO, a failed product line, a lawsuit, a scandal in the boardroom. Something dramatic and specific. But Tupperware's decline was quieter than that, and in some ways more brutal, because it did not come from a mistake anyone made. It came from the world changing around the company so slowly that by the time leadership understood the problem, the fix was already too late. By the 2000s, Tupperware brands had grown into a global operation, selling in nearly 100 countries. In 2014, the stock peaked around $93 a share. The company still ran a massive international sales force built on the same party model Brownie Wise had designed more than 50 years earlier. That was the peak, and the cracks had been showing for years. The world that made the Tupperware Party work had been disappearing since the 1980s. Women entered the workforce in enormous numbers. The stay-at-home demographic that hosted and attended parties shrank steadily. The people who once had free afternoons for a living room demonstration were now at offices, in hospitals, on job sites. Hosting a party on a weeknight after a full workday was a completely different proposition than hosting one on a Tuesday afternoon with coffee and cake, and fewer people were willing to do it. At the same time, retail changed completely. Big box stores like Target and Walmart offered cheap food storage containers from a dozen competing brands, all sitting right there on the shelf. You could walk in, compare prices, pick a set and walk out in 10 minutes. No appointment, no party invitation, no waiting for a dealer to show up at your house. The convenience gap between Tupperware and its competitors was widening every year, and the competitors did not even need to be better. They just needed to be easier to buy. And then came e-commerce. By the 2010s, you could order a food storage set on Amazon and have it at your door in 2 days. No party required. No dealer. No living room. Just a click and a credit card. Tupperware tried to adapt. The company launched online selling tools for its dealers. It experimented with retail partnerships. It even put products back in Target stores for a while. But every move away from the party model undercut the very sales force the company depended on. The dealers saw retail and online as competition, not support. They had built their businesses on exclusive access to the product, and now the company was putting that same product on shelves where anyone could grab it without a dealer involved. Recruiting new dealers was getting harder every year because the pitch, earn money hosting parties in your living room, sounded less and less appealing to a generation that had other options, other side hustles, other gig work, other ways to make money that did not require convincing your friends to come over and buy plastic containers. The financials told the story plainly. Revenue came in around $1.6 billion in 2021. By 2022, it had dropped to roughly $1.3 billion. $300 million in revenue gone in a single year. And this was not a blip. This was the trend line steepening. The sales force was shrinking. The number of active dealers was falling. Debt was piling up. The company had taken on roughly $812 million in funded debt, and the cash coming in was no longer enough to cover the interest payments, let alone the principal. The math had turned against them. The stock price collapsed. From that peak of $93 a share in 2014, shares fell steadily through the tens, through single digits, and eventually landed under 50 cents. A company that Wall Street had once valued as a global consumer powerhouse was now trading for less than a pack of gum. Investors were not just pessimistic, they were pricing in the end. In September of 2024, Tupperware Brands filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The filing listed more than $1.2 billion in total debt against $679.5 million in assets. The company was not just struggling, it owed far more than it was worth. What makes this story worth studying is not the size of the collapse. Plenty of companies go bankrupt every year. What makes Tupperware different is the cause. Because this was not mismanagement in the usual sense. Nobody stole money. Nobody made a reckless acquisition. Nobody ignored a recall. The company simply could not escape the model that built it. Tupperware did not fail because it made a bad product. The containers still worked. The seal still held. People still liked them. It did not fail because of a scandal or a recall or a single catastrophic decision by one executive. It failed because the model it was built on stopped fitting the world it operated in. The Tupperware Party was a brilliant invention for the 1950s. It turned a product that could not sell itself on a store shelf into one of the most recognized brands on the planet. But the party depended on a specific set of social and economic conditions. It needed people with free time, in homes they were willing to open to guests, in a culture where the living room demonstration was a normal and even exciting thing. Every one of those conditions eroded over time, and Tupperware could not replace the engine while the car was still running. The company knew this. Leadership talked about digital transformation and modern selling tools for years, but the direct sales army was both the company's greatest asset and its greatest obstacle. You could not go around them without losing them, and you could not keep them without staying in a model the market had outgrown. It was a trap with no clean exit, and nobody at the top found one. There is a version of this story where someone figures it out, where a new CEO walks in, sees the dependency on the party model, and starts building a direct-to-consumer brand while the sales force is still large enough to fund the transition, where the company pivots early enough, finds a way to keep the brand and lose the model, and comes out the other side as something new. But that version did not happen. Every attempt at modernization ran into the same wall. The party was the company, and the company was the party. Tupperware rode it all the way to the end. And there is a lesson in that for anyone watching a business built on one brilliant idea. The idea that builds the empire is not always the idea that saves it. The Tupperware Party was genius in 1951. By 2024, it was an anchor around the company's neck, and nobody could cut it loose without sinking the ship. The containers are still in kitchens all over the country. The brand is still recognized by almost everyone who hears it. But the company behind it owes more than $1.2 billion. Its stock is worth less than a cup of coffee. And the party, the real engine of the whole operation, is over. If this one made you think, leave a comment with the brand you want us to look at next, and subscribe so you don't miss it.